Hello, viewers of Jonathan George Villarreal's Watch Emporium. I'm Jonathan George Villarreal, and I'm excited to share with you how we can expand our knowledge of the world through the English language. Our videos cover a range of topics such as literature, history, science, and more, to provide you with a well-rounded learning experience. Regardless of whether you're a beginner or an experienced learner, our expertly curated videos offer captivating and enlightening content to help you enhance your language proficiency. The September 11th event, also known as the September 11th, 2001 terrorist attacks, stands as one of the most monumental events in world history. These attacks unleashed an unfathomable catastrophe, claiming the lives of thousands, injuring thousands more, and inflict extensive physical and psychological damage. The transcending mere acts of terrorism is ushered in a seismic shift in how the world perceives national security, international politics, and the daily lives of millions. It's prepared the United States and the world into the war on terror in Afghanistan and Iraq. While some myriad issues pertaining to personal freedom, international relations, and global security, this event also marked a paradigm shift in shaping the 21st century world and brought profound repercussions across various facets of human existence. Today, I would like to talk about the September 11th event, also referred to as the 9/11 terrorist attacks, comprises a series of 4 terrorist acts perpetrated by the Al-Qaeda group on the morning of September 11th, 2001. 19 Al-Qaeda terrorists hijacked 4 commercial airplanes and subsequently crashed them into targets within the United States. This orchestrated assault inflicted grave damage on the economy and resulting in health and property consequences of unparalleled magnitude. A staggering 2,977 lives were lost, over 25,000 individuals were injured, and the financial toll exceeds $10 billion. To this day, it remains the bloodiest and most devastating terrorist attack the world has ever witnessed. The genesis of Al-Qaeda can be traced back to 1979 when the Soviet Union invaded Afghanistan. Under the leadership of Osama bin Laden, the armed group Al-Qaeda, primarily composed of Arab Mujahideen, organized to confront the communist Afghan government and the Soviet Union. In 1996, bin Laden withdrew U.S. forces from Saudi Arabia. By 1998, bin Laden had become vocally critical of U.S. foreign policy concerning Israel and the continued presence of U.S. military forces into the Arab Saudi region following the Gulf War. Bin Laden exploited Islam as a tool to incite Muslims to target the United States. In the early hours of September 11th, 2001, a group of 19 hijackers commandeered control of 4 commercial passenger planes to carry out this unimaginable attack. On September 11th, 2001, the world was rocked as 19 Al-Qaeda terrorists took control of 4 large passenger planes and launched a series of attacks. 2 planes crashed into the north and south towers of the World Trade Center in New York City. The 3rd plane struck the Pentagon in Virginia, while the 4th plane initially aimed for the U.S. Capitol, but ultimately crashed into the Pennsylvania field after courageous passengers confronted the terrorist group. This attack caused significant disruption to the U.S. aviation system, leading to the immediate grounding of all domestic flights within the continental United States and rerouting and return of international flights. The terrorist events of September 11th, 2001 resulted in substantial casualties and standards one of the most profound tragedies in the history of the United States and the world. Precisely 265 individuals aboard the four attacked airplanes lost their lives, with no survivors among them. Furthermore, 2,606 people perished within the around the World Trade Center, and 125 individuals lost their lives at the Pentagon in Virginia. The total death toll amounted to 2,996 souls, with over 6,000 others sustaining injuries in the harrowing attack. Notably, 343 firefighters from the New York City Fire Department were among the brave souls who made the ultimate sacrifice. This grants as one of the deadliest attacks in the history of both the United States and the world since the assault on Pearl Harbor in 1941. Beyond the destruction of the Twin Towers, the attack also brought significant damage and destruction to numerous other buildings in the vicinity of the World Trade Center. This event brought about profound changes in nearly every aspect of American life, from airport security to a plethora of daily activities such as travel, immigration, and job creating. It can be said that hardly anything remained untouched by the horrors of this catastrophic event. The attack engendered global fear and anxiety, altering how people perceive security and personal sovereignty. It also fostered a climate of apprehension and suspicion within the American and global communities, exacerbating tensions of religion and culture. It spurred increased awareness, understanding of the culture and religion of Muslim in American and global society. The U.S. stock market crashed, and the numerous business and industries, especially the aviation and financial sectors, bore the brunt of the impact. Changes in security and foreign policy, such as new security measures like the National Security Initiative, were implemented to prevent future terrorist attacks. The attack spurred several new security measures in the aviation industry, including stricter airport screening and checks. It altered the functioning and management of the global aviation system. This act of terrorism prompted the U.S. government and the international community to shift their perspectives on politics and security. It led to the U.S. invasion of Afghanistan in pursuit of locating and dismantling Al-Qaeda, along with toppling the Taliban regime that supported Al-Qaeda. The United States, alongside many nations worldwide, engaged in the global war on terror under the leadership of U.S. President George W. Bush. The U.S. achieved several milestones, including the elimination of Osama bin Laden, thwarting terrorist attacks on U.S. soil, and weakening the self-proclaimed Islamic State (IS). Over the course of 22 years, the United States has been at the forefront of the global fight against terrorism, particularly in the battle against the Islamic State. The U.S. has actively contributed to curbing the spread of terrorism worldwide. However, this war on terror came at a staggering cost of approximately $6.4 trillion, primarily focused in Afghanistan, Pakistan, Iraq, Syria, and Yemen. The United States dedicated 20 years to the conflict in Afghanistan before withdrawing under the leadership of President Joe Biden on August 31st, 2021. Biden declared an end to this era of warfare, redirecting the attention to more pressing priorities such as strengthening alliances, addressing strategic challenges, and nuclear arms control. Nevertheless, there are conspiracy theories suggesting that the 9/11 attacks may be linked to certain internal forces within the United States. These theories propose that the attacks were not the result of skillful terrorists or extremist Muslims, but rather of scenarios crafted by American citizens. Theories based on both the horrifying conspiracy specifically focuses on a Pentagon attack. He contends that the punctual holes in the Pentagon walls could not have been caused by a Boeing 757, positing that the New York and Washington attacks could have been carried out by a group of individuals in high positions within the U.S. militaries and politics. Those who adhere to these conspiracy theories believe that the terrorist acts were part of a deception campaign conducted by the U.S. government. A prominent conspiracy theory revolves around the collapse of the North Tower, South Tower, and especially Building Number 7, suggesting that the plane impacts were not powerful enough to cause the catastrophic collapse, and that the jet fuel's burning temperature and was insufficient to melt the steel structure of the WTC. According to this conspiracy theories, explosives were pre-planted within the buildings. Advocates of this theory include physicist Stephen E. Jobs, architect Richard Gage, software engineer Jim Hoffman, and theologian David Gray Griffin. Another notable theory is that the Pentagon was hit by a missile from within the U.S. government. According to this theory, a commercial passenger plane was capable of carrying out the attack after the U.S. military failed to take any action to prevent it. These arguments suggest that NORAD's inability to intercept the 9/11 attacks was part of a conspiracy with the aim of justifying the invasion of Afghanistan and Iraq, expanding control over Middle Eastern's oil resources, and creating conditions for increased military spending and domestic civil liberties restrictions. Supporters of these conspiracy theories also contend that there has been misinformation regarding the attacks, such as the misidentification of alleged hijackers initially later being revealed as still alive. These are just a few examples of the conspiracy theories related to the September 11th event and the peculiar actions surrounding it. It's important to note that none of these theories have been proven or officially recognized, and they remain subjects of significant controversy within research and public discourse communities. The September 11th event will always remain an indelible part of the world's historical tapestry. With all its contrasting facets, it stands as a symbol of unity and loss, while also serving as a spark igniting the war on terror and debate surrounding security and freedom. The events of 9/11 have taught us that the world perpetually confronts formidable and unpredictable challenges. It is a reminder of the importance of peace, international cooperation, and adaptability in times of transformation. Although over 2 decades have passed since the fateful day, the memory of 9/11 continues to live on in the hearts of millions worldwide, forever etched as an emblem of resilience and commitment to safeguarding freedom and peace. Thank you for joining me at this episode. Your questions, comments, and feedback are always welcome and appreciated. So please don't hesitate to leave them in the comment section below. And if you haven't already, please do hit the like button and subscribe to our channel for more interesting and enlightening content. By hitting the notification bell, you'll be sure to never miss any very exciting and thought-provoking episodes. Don't forget to share our channel with your friends and family who may also find our content beneficial. We are committed to providing you with high quality, well-researched, and engaging content that will help you improve your English language skills and Spanish knowledge. And I look forward to sharing more insightful and inspiring things with you in your near future.